So there's a tick called the Lone Star tick that basically fucks with, I think it's a protein in your body. No, wait, hold on. Let me make sure I say the right thing. So alpha-gal is a sugar molecule, which is found, like, which these ticks have in their saliva. And it triggers an allergic reaction, basically, to mostly red meat. I've heard that it can cause reactions to all meat and, like, other foods, too. But it's, like, basically, once you get bit by this tick, you end up having this thing called alpha-gal syndrome, which for most people means that, like, eating red meat messes them up, and for some people it's like all products like derive from mammals, so like milk and cheese and things like that, but for a lot of people it's just meat. And I think for me, I have a really intense allergy I have a really intense reaction to beef. But I have, like, if I have, like, a latte with, like, whole milk in it or like, bacon on something, like, I usually do get a little bit tummy upset. And so with me, it's just hard because I also have IBD. And so it's, like, what is what? But the beef thing in particular, it's, like, I was at a restaurant and ate a pinky nail-sized piece of a Wagyu steak. And I was in the bathroom for 3 hours afterwards. And so it's like, that's the most intense one for me. But like, if I have bacon, I do like get an upset stomach. And so it's just like, I might just have a more intense reaction to beef than to the other ones. But the Lone Star tick is found in Ohio, where I went to college, which is why it is plausible that I do, in fact, have alpha-gal syndrome.
Speaking of blood-sucking parasites, welcome to Informed Attraction, a podcast hosted by one English gecko and one caveman with a sitcom, a podcast about how sometimes entire industries are huge scams. We can keep chatting, but that was just too good.
No, this is going to be the first time where the whole intro is just one of us talking. It'll just be me talking for 2 minutes about alpha-gal syndrome. If you are interested in learning more about alpha-gal syndrome, there is a SciShow video called Ticks Can Spread an Allergy to Red Meat. It is good, and you should watch it, and then you can understand why it's really annoying for me that a person who I dated for like 5 weeks this summer, every time we went out to eat would order something with beef in it, and then when I would go, oh, now I can't eat that, he would go, what do you mean? And I was like, we've had this conversation 4 other times.
I think that you should date people who remember your sensitivities.
Well, that would be great, wouldn't it? But that's not been the theme of my life, and especially not this summer.
But both dietary and emotional sensitivities.
That would be crazy. You know what? I think everyone, all my friends, myself, and my therapist would really enjoy that.
Yes, we're all rooting for you. Person who's out there. Person who is out there and is definitely real. You will meet them one day. No, I'm being genuine. you
Do you think I'm the gecko and you're the caveman, or vice versa?
Well, specifically, it's a caveman with a sitcom.
No, I know. Well, it's an English gecko.
I think you are more of an English gecko than a caveman with a sitcom.
Thank you. I am a lizard. I appreciate that.
Yes. So, I just want to start by saying we will never do a series this long again.
That's crazy of you to promise that right now. I don't promise that. That feels like an improbable thing for us to promise at this moment, considering this turned into a 7-part series and this was crazy.
Jump cut to me a year from now doing part 9 out of 20 of my Baldur's Gate 3 series.
Okay, well, I would never let that happen. I would never let happen. I'd be like, hey, so I can't listen to 20 episodes on a video game I've never played. I'll go insane.
We need an entire episode just to get into the lore of Mystra that sets up what you need to know about Gale Decarius, so that then we can have an episode specifically about Gale, and you can understand the context of why the fact that he was Mystra's chosen, who was outcasted, makes him such a compelling character.
I'm going to remind everyone at this juncture that I'm the autistic member of the podcast.
Yeah. You ever get hooked on reality shifting TikTok? Do you know what that is?
I do know what that is. I have never gotten hooked on it, but I am aware of reality shifting TikTok.
I'm like obsessed with it. There's like 2 shift talkers who I do watch quite frequently. I do think that they are just fully lying. Yeah. But I'm so entertained by it, and it's really just immersive fan fiction.
Oh, other piece of housekeeping is the Twitch streamer who I watch a lot, KYR Speedy, they're doing a series right now of, it's like a Minecraft thing. And one of the girls has been trying to get him to watch Roll for Sandwich.
Yeah.
And he keeps not watching it. And like mostly unintentionally, I think. Now it's a bit at this point. And every time she asks him, he like TPs away. And I was like, I would have no context for this bit had Aubrey not brought up Roll for Sandwich and Roll for Cereal during the Tony the Tiger and Fruit Loops episode.
I'm so upset because Roll for Cereal is taking a September break.
Ate too much cereal. Tell me hurt.
I will say Roll for Cereal is so based in his politics where in pretty much every Roll for Cereal, he's like, free Palestine, fuck cops.
Maybe he got RFK'd like you've gotten multiple times where the Secret Service has broken into your home and beat the shit out of you.
Nah, I think he's just taking a break. But then he was like, oh, but TikTok might not even be here in a month. So I'm like, is there new TikTok legislation I don't know about?
No, I don't know what's happening.
Okay, nobody does.
It's just the original extension is going to expire because it was like an extension basically is what they did. They stayed the law getting implemented.
Nobody gives a shit. Everything is too little, too late.
Hello, it's Mackenna from the present. If it wasn't obvious from Aubrey saying that Roll for Cereal is going on a September break, we recorded this before we recorded our 2 Halloween series. The current TikTok update is it looks like a deal for American ownership is going to happen, and that basically the people who tried to buy it before are involved. It's the same investor consortium that includes like Larry Ellison and Oracle Corp, I think Blackstone and Andreessen Horowitz. We're not a business podcast, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Billionaires are buying TikTok here in America. It's just going to be, for all these concerned about Chinese propaganda, now it's just going to be American propaganda. I don't use TikTok anymore. I know we're on there. I know Aubrey is on there. I've heard that it's whack now and clearly being censored. So just know that especially when this deal goes through, I'm sure there will be more of it. I'll pass it back to past us.
Guys, AI is taken over. Trump definitely fucked children.
Yeah.
We're so aware of it now. Everything's painful. I bought a Labubu. Josh bought a Labubu. He opened up his Labubu and he got the secret Labubu from the exciting macaron Labubu pack. And then yesterday he bought us 2 little Labubu figurines from the Wacky Mart pack. And so now we have, what do we have? We have milk and salad Labubu figurines sitting on our cabinet. And he's going to buy another exciting macaron Labubu because his Labubu, the rare Labubu, he refuses to take it out of the box. So I now have my Labubu named Heath attached to my bag. So that's an outside Labubu. But his rare Labubu is named Chester. Chester lives within the box. So he needs to purchase another Labubu so that he can have an outside Labubu. So that when we're walking about, we can both have our outside Labubus.
I'm Labubuless. And that's fine. That's fine for me, actually.
Josh gets a crazy deal on Labubus where he works. So if you want a Labubu, I will ship you a Labubu.
It's okay.
Will you tell me if you want from the exciting macaron set or if you want from the, like, I forget what it's called. It's like the neon set. So do you want one that's more of like the neutral pastels or do you want one that's like bright?
I don't think I need a Labubu, but thank you.
Have a little bit of whimsy.
I have so much whimsy. There's a cowboy boot on the wall behind me. There's a frog right here.
Okay, but I'm taking Heath, my Labubu, to dinner tonight. And he might get his own little plate.
Okay, well, I think it's time to talk about insurance.
Oh my god, Mackenna, you don't even know. We were looking at the Labubu outfits, and there's okay, so you can buy a bag for your Labubu to wear with its outfit, and do you know what your Labubu can put on its bag? A Labubu! A little Labubu! Yeah. I want my Labubu to have a bag with a Labubu on it. But then, because that's my Labubu's Labubu, but then that Labubu is also, like, my Labubu is probably going to want to dress up its Labubu.
Do you remember that this all started with you saying you did not like Labubus because of the consumerism implications?
Absolutely not. I never said that.
Okay. It's on record.
Guys, I contain multitudes. That's just what I say every time I'm a hypocrite. Every time I contradict myself, I just go, I contain multitudes. And you know what? I think that's what who said that? Was that Thoreau who said that? No.
What?
Fucking Walt Whitman? Was it? Who said I contain multitudes? Was it Walt Whitman? I'm pretty sure. This is the one bit of fucking knowledge that you don't have.
I contain multitudes, quote.
It's gotta be Walt Whitman.
It is Walt Whitman from Song of Myself, which, as you might remember, is referenced in what film that we both didn't like?
Nosferatu?
The Whale.
Oh yeah, you're right. Sorry, I already repressed everything about the whale. So, basically, we're ending this series about mascots on insurance mascots, because when Mackenna initially posted about, hey, who are some sexy mascots out there, they got an overwhelming response from people saying the Geico Gecko.
Yes. And I think I mentioned this last time too, but the other mascot we didn't talk about at any sort of length who was said a lot was the Jolly Green Giant. But, the Jolly Green Giant is like the Brawny Man, but green.
Pretty much. If people are really clamoring for us to do a Jolly Green Giant episode, I think I said this last time, if you want me to do a fucking giant episode, just send us an email. You'd probably get a 5-part series on it. So, I do want to say that I've chosen to talk about certain mascots and not others, and what it comes down to is about who has the cognitive capacity for consent.
Me and Aubrey have been talking about this a lot, actually.
The Geico Gecko is operating in Brian from Family Guy territory, where he has full cognitive capabilities. He can drive a vehicle. But the Aflac duck is just a duck that says Aflac. So I don't think the Aflac duck is able to consent. And Limu Emu is just an emu. So we're not considering these birds as sexual entities. We will consider Doug, because the evidence is there that Doug is able to consent. Yeah.
Who's Doug?
That's Limu Emu's little handler from the Liberty Mutual commercials.
Oh, yes. I will never remember that man's name.
Yeah, it's Limu Emu and Doug. So, fun fact about me, guys, is I'm also just someone who hates insurance. I think that
hot take from Aubrey Hoffer that insurance is bad, by the way.
No one would have ever suspected this from me. I know. When it comes to healthcare insurance, I think we should just have free universal healthcare. So I'm morally opposed to that. I said this before. I was someone who still, after 2 years, is paying for a surgery that I got 2 years ago. That's fine. And as for auto insurance, I just think auto, and for the most part home insurance, is just a huge scam that you have to pay money into every month, only to never get any money or assistance when anything actually happens to your vehicle or your home, but we'll get into that at the beginning of the episode. I do also want to say, we already talked about Flo from Progressive, so we are not going to be focusing on Flo today. If you want to hear about Flo, we did a whole thing about Flo. It was great. One of the highlights of the series, in my opinion. So what I'm going to do today is just highlight some other mascots, and yeah, just talk about other insurance industry mascots and their fuckability. But first, I want to talk a little bit about insurance and why insurance is a scam. Normally, I like to start the episodes by talking about the characters around the industry and then, making some big thematic point about the industry itself. But today I just decided, you know what, fuck it. Let's start by just talking about why insurance sucks and then get into some levity about, the Geico Gecko. So, essentially, insurance sells coverage, and it is fundamentally dependent on minimizing payouts in line with that coverage. Every business tries to spend as little as possible and to take in as much money as possible, but the product that's being sold with insurance is essentially money. So it gets a little bit weird. And to be clear, when I say that I hate insurance, I think that the concept of having a place to pool money together to pay for inevitable bad shit that most people couldn't afford to pay for out of pocket is a good idea in theory. But in practice, most people, when you actually have bad shit happen to you, insurance says, go fuck yourself. Another interesting thing about the insurance industry is that most people don't actually shop around for insurance, It's most likely that if your parents use State Farm, you will use State Farm. Most people don't really shop around for better prices. They just kind of stick with what they know. Because also, when you get quotes from different insurance agencies and companies, when you're dealing with the major players like State Farm, Allstate, Progressive, their quotes are all going to be basically the same. Like, there's nobody who's really going to give you some amazing deal, because that's just not really how the insurance industry works. So basically, the insurance industry spends a fuck ton of their money on marketing rather than on project differentiation, because there's really no way that the companies themselves can, like, give you a better or different product. So all of their money just goes into marketing. Geico alone spends billions of dollars a year on ads, and it's not because they're selling better insurance, they're selling a character to associate with the brand. And that's why when you look at, like, insurance industry awards, they're marketing awards. Insurance companies are largely, like, marketing companies. I do want to add that, at least in the United States, auto insurance is legally required, which guarantees companies' customers. Yeah.
Except for in New Hampshire, as I found out when I was in New Hampshire this summer, which is wild.
What, do you know why?
Live free or die, baby.
You know what? Hell yeah, brother. Damn right I support it.
I don't know that I do, but...
So in almost every state, you have to have car insurance in order to drive a car.
Yeah.
So again, like, it is a, like, legal requirement that people have to purchase this. There's also, I just think, fucked up stuff with insurance where, like, premiums for insurance go up even if you never get into an accident, or even if, like, nothing ever happens, right? Like, because you could make the argument of, like, okay, if I pay for my insurance every month, right, and let's say I pay $200 every month for auto insurance, like, if I never get into an accident, why is my premium continuing to increase? And the answer to that is usually fucked up demographic shit, where you just happen to live in a zip code where more people are having accidents, and also inflation and shit.
And corporate greed.
Exactly.
I also, like, I think this is... this is just Mackenna's story time. This isn't actually relevant to what we're talking about. So my parents used to live in a spot in Arizona where there were so many car accidents, to the point that, like, every time after I had left Arizona that I would go to their place, like, I would come from the airport to their place, I would see a car accident. And there were 2 intersections that this happened at. And so, like, it didn't matter which way we approached their house. It was like one was on a road called Southern and one was on a road called Baseline. And it did not matter from which direction we were approaching their house. It was there was going to be a car that had been T-boned within the hour of my plane landing at Phoenix Sky Harbor. And so I have never seen more car accidents in my life than living in Arizona. Like, in all the time I lived in Ohio, now living in New York, like, in no other place have I seen as many car accidents as I would see in, like, a week of visiting Arizona. And so I believe, to all the Arizona listeners out there, that your car insurance is probably higher than people who live in other places, because everyone gets in car accidents in Arizona because people fly down surface streets at like 70 miles an hour.
Kentucky, I don't see a lot of car accidents, but every time I drive, there are people who are broken down on the side of the road.
Interesting.
I think because there's no emissions testing or anything here. Oh. And, like, when you do emissions testing, they're also basically like, hey, here's, like, there's something fucked up with your car. So a lot of people are just driving fucked up cars all the time.
Yeah, which is not good.
No. Insurance also is probably racist and classist. Basically, like, your insurance also depends on your credit score, which is bad for a variety of reasons. Yeah. So, like, companies charge you more if you have bad credit, even if you're a good driver.
Which doesn't make any sense, by the way.
This is also why, like, young men automatically get charge more for insurance than young women, because insurance companies do their little calculations and they say, oh, okay, young men are more likely to get into accidents than young women. Charge young men more. People of color often end up paying higher rates as well due to zip code-based risk calculations. Again, these are just discriminatory practices, and like, everyone acknowledges that these are discriminatory practices, yet it's just how it is, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, this is also a problem with, like, as we did another sideshow episode about, like, part of, like, a huge issue with AI is that this is mostly to do with, like, health insurance stuff, but they unfortunately do make some, like, racist decisions, and I'm sure this will happen more and more across all industries as they start relying more on these, like, weird, wacky AIs for their algorithms. And so, like, I think AI tries to market itself as, like, being more neutral in some capacity, but there is already evidence with health insurance that, like, AI-based ways of determining claims and stuff like that, like denying claims or not, there's been a demonstrated racial component to it.
Doesn't Elon keep, like, fucking with his own AI to just make it more racist?
Yeah, well, that's just, yes. Yes, that's just because that's in that white supremacist's best interest to make Grok more racist.
It's just why. That's the thing. I feel a little bad for Grok, because I feel like Grok is like, I don't want to be racist, and then Twitter's just like, no, we must change you to become more racist. But inside of Grok, there's a little person that's like, I don't want to be this way.
See, the great part is there's not a little person inside of Grok, so we don't have to feel bad for him.
Mackenna, I'm personifying my Labubu's. I'm going to be personifying all of the AIs.
I know.
Unfortunately. And here's the thing, too, with car insurance, is even if you do get into an accident, payouts are designed to be stingy. Yeah. Insurance profits come from denying or minimizing claims, so you might pay for years and years, hundreds of dollars a month, and then when you actually need coverage, they will lowball you on repairs or declare your car totaled to avoid having to pay for proper fixes.
Some of you might remember that somewhat recently, a healthcare CEO was shot and killed over this very issue.
Yes. You might even say they deny, delay. Anyway.
Are you doing deny, define, depose?
Maybe. What I would say overall when it comes to insurance, particularly with auto insurance, because that's a lot of what this episode is about, is that it's a gamble, right?
Yeah.
You're putting in your money, betting that you will crash at some point, and they're betting that you won't. But the thing with gambling is that the house always wins. They collect money from millions of drivers every year, and they pay out way less than they take in.
It's interesting. You know, what you just said, the first part, was interesting because I feel like similar to when we were talking about, like, how, like, every cereal has, like, a mascot, but it's, like, really, like, when you think about foods with mascots, it is, like, kind of primarily cereal companies. Mm-hmm. That's also true of, like, insurance. Like, there's way more car insurance, like every car insurance, huge car insurance brand has some sort of, like, mascot or spokesperson, but, like, United Healthcare doesn't have, like, Eunice the orangutan, our silly little United Healthcare mascot.
But that's because I think most people are getting their health insurance in the U.S. from their employers. So it's like you're not even picking. Like, I don't think most people even are able to shop around for health insurance.
No, I do have only the option between Blue Cross, Blue Shield, Gold, Silver, and Bronze. Silver, by the way.
And I guess that's the thing, is, like, there's kind of an illusion of choice where, like, you could, in theory, pick whatever, you know, home or auto insurance you want, but in practice, most people are just picking what their parents had.
Yeah. Did your parents have State Farm?
Yeah.
Yes. I had State Farm car insurance until I stopped having a car.
Well, like, that's the thing, right, too? Because if you're, especially a young person, usually purchasing a car, like, as a child in a household, like, your dad or your mom or whoever is probably just putting you onto their insurance plan.
Right.
And then one day when it's like, okay, now you have to pay for your own insurance, it's like, okay, do you want to go with the insurance you've had that has been fine, or switch to something else that's going to be probably the same price?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
We also were my friend just turned 26, and as everyone in America knows, when you turn 26 years old, you get yeeted off of your parents' insurance if you were still on it. Isabel actually was not still on her parents' insurance, but she was on this like young adults insurance thing. But we were talking about how odd it is that like insurance, specifically health insurance, is one of the only things that like they're like you can no longer like be a part of your family. Like it's like I can still do a Spotify family plan with my parents. I can still do a phone plan with my parents, but they're like, fuck you. You cannot be on the insurance plan anymore when you turn 26. You're an adult now. Figure out your own insurance situation. And that's just, it is wacky to me, let me just say.
Well, and it's like, why?
Why?
Like, why 26?
Right.
I mean, as a developmental person, like, it makes me think about conversations I've had with people about things like, drinking age or even age of consent, where it's like, it's really hard to actually just draw a line and be like, this is the age where adulthood happens, or like, this is the age where you should be allowed to do things, because like, having the drinking age in the US be 21, like, you could make the argument that there are some people who could probably, be allowed to drink when they're 16 and probably function quite normally. Right. And also, there are probably some people who shouldn't be drinking until much later in life. Who knows?
The one of the people who I went on some dates with this summer, that was like his whole thing is he was like, I actually think all of the ages for things should be much higher than they are. He and I was like, what? He was like, yeah, I think like owning a gun, being able to drink, being able to smoke, all of this stuff should actually be higher than 18, because like thinking about myself at 18 versus thinking about myself now as someone in their late 20s, like now I do feel like I'm an adult, but I felt like I thought I was an adult when I was 18, but I actually would have made some better decisions had I not had access to those things when I was 18. And I was like, I think that's true, but I think that just then like extends the taboo. This is the whole thing. I think I mentioned that my anthropology advisors, no, maybe I didn't. This might have been like a social conversation with someone else. My anthropology advisor in college, his two specialties were in like rites of passage, specifically as it concerns menstruation and like how that like tends to mark like womanhood, how that gets marked in different cultures. He specifically was working in Botswana on a lot of that stuff. And then he also did drinking culture research in both Botswana and Ireland. And I do all that prelude to say, A, Dave Suggs is very cool, but B, I took one of his classes about drinking culture, and one of the things that we talked about a lot is that the reason why there's such high incidences of like binge drinking / early alcoholism in the States is because it's so taboo until you are in your 20s, and it's like this like crazy thing. There's a thrill to doing something illegal before you're 21. Whereas like in places in Europe, like the drinking ages tend to be lower, and you get introduced to the concept of drinking much younger. Like it's not as like fucked up to give your 13-year-old a glass of wine at dinner in France. And so they have less of that like, I'm going to go black out, because it's more of a normal part of their culture as opposed to being this like taboo, sneaky thing.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm curious also too how that impacts alcoholism, and like, it's really interesting because so I think alcoholism is something that is largely biological, but I do think there are also social components that help to, encourage alcoholism. And I think that I can see an argument for both cases, where I think introducing alcohol at younger ages can like, introduce alcohol as being like a part of your day-to-day life.
Right.
That could potentially be bad. And also I think that introducing alcohol as something where it's like, here's this amazing fun substance that you do and it makes you a cool fun person, that also like fucks you up.
Yeah, well, I think it's more about the taboo of it all. It's less about being like, this is a part of your daily life, and more about being like, this is like a thing that grown-ups engage in and is normal and fine. It's the same way that like, honestly, but with like sex education kind of stuff that happens. It's like, it is not good to not teach people things about these things when they are young, the more information you give them is actually better. Yeah. And I think that's the thing that I think in general the like puritanical parts of American culture do poorly, is instead of coming at things from an educational standpoint to kids and normalizing concepts like alcohol and sex to kids at young ages, the mind palace goes, well, if we just don't tell them anything about it, if we tell them we'll kill them if they have a beer at a party when they're 16, then they won't do it. And it's like, what you just did is make it really cool to have a beer at a party when you're 16, and they don't know, they aren't getting the education they need about like not drinking and driving. What does it mean to have too much? Like that kind of stuff is actually worse when you don't inform people about these things at an age where like they are going to probably come into contact with it.
Well, I think there's a big obsession with, like, keeping kids pure, and this even comes up in the study that I'm working on, where I'll occasionally have parents who, in the study I'm working on, we ask the parents a series of questions about mental health, and then basically I ask the kids the same questions, and I'll sometimes have parents who are like, are you going to ask those questions about, like, eating disorder stuff or depression stuff to my kid? And I'm like, yes, that's, you know, how the interview is structured, and they don't always want that because they think that if I tell a child, have you ever made yourself vomit, that will make their child want to self-induce vomiting. That's not how that works. It's not how it works, but I think it's how a lot of people feel, and I think that a lot of people feel like, you know, if I introduce concepts around, like, sex education to my child, that is, like, encouraging my young child to have sex. And I don't know. It's also like the reality is that quite young children are like touching their genitals. Like that's just like something that happens. And if you try to pretend that that's not something that happens until you're like 16, you've missed out on like fundamental years of trying to develop like actual thinking about sex and the body and things like that.
Yeah. So the Geico Gecko.
One last quick note is I was kind of curious about how...
Speaking of touching genitals, the Geico Gecko.
So I was curious about how auto insurance works internationally, because I was like, okay, well, healthcare is different around the world, and is auto and home insurance different around the world? Basically, pretty much everywhere that exists, if you want to drive, you have to have some kind of liability insurance. But some countries let the government run it. Like there are some provinces in Canada or states in Australia. Is that what you call? Does Australia have states?
Hey Siri, does Australia have states? Yes, Australia has 6 states: New South Wales, Queensland, South Australia, Tasmania, Victoria, and Western Australia.
Okay, yeah, so depending on like, you know, what province you might be in Canada or what state you're in Australia, and I think there are some countries that do just have government run like auto insurance that exist, and then there are other countries that are private free-for-alls like the United States or the UK. So, we're going to start by talking about Geico, and I have 2 mascots from Geico that we're going to talk about. One is, you know, he's been alluded to many times, and that is the Geico Gecko. The Geico Gecko is Geico's most well-known spokesperson mascot. Geico has had many well-known ad campaigns. They spend over $1.1 billion in advertising, or 6.8% of their own revenue on advertising every year. Yeah, like I said, insurance companies are marketing companies. The Geico Gecko is voiced by British actor Jake Wood, but he's also been voiced by other actors in the past, like Kelsey Grammer from Frasier. The Gecko does have a name. Do you know what his name is?
Greg.
Martin.
Oh, he looks like a Martin. That's fair.
No, as soon as I found out his name was Martin, I was like, okay.
I was like, yeah.
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 That makes complete sense to me.
It does.
He is very likable. He's definitely fuckable.
Here's the thing, though. I don't know that he's physically fuckable.
No. he emotionally, there's an allure.
I genuinely think there is no scenario in which I would feel comfortable putting the Gecko as my fuck in a fuck, marry, kill, but I feel very strongly about putting him in my marry category because I feel like he'd be a supportive partner who could provide and also provide emotionally.
If the Gecko was portrayed by a real life English man,
He'd
what
be so
actor?
sexy.
What actor do you think would portray him?
Well, it would have to be someone who's like a little bit, because he's still a lizard. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so it would have to be someone who's like a little bit. So like my first brain palace mind went to like a Benedict Cumberbatch type, because I do feel like it would be someone in that vein who's like a little bit strange looking.
My immediate answer was Colin Firth.
Oh yeah, well I feel like that fits into the same, because Colin Firth isn't like Jude Law.
No, but he's handsome. He's funny. Because like the Gecko is also kind of like silly.
Yes, exactly. He's a lizard.
Yeah, he's a silly guy. You know what? I saw Tom Holland has a new Prada campaign.
You know what? Tom Holland actually is kind of a really good song because Tom Holland's little.
No, hear me out too. So Tom Holland, I saw his latest Prada campaign. I 10 toes down am saying I think Tom Holland is going to age into a Colin Firth type.
Yeah, that makes sense to me too. I mean, especially like watching his version of Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. That like makes a lot of sense to me.
Like, to me, my ideal career trajectory for Tom Holland is that he gets to be a Colin Firth type in a Mamma Mia type or a Bridget Jones type movie.
Sure, yeah.
Like, to be like, he's like the kind of like, he's like the love interest in a very popular series would be my ideal trajectory for Tom Holland.
Yeah.
I actually don't have a lot of notes about the Gecko. Basically, he's been their longest
or
standing...
like a Matt Smith.
I can see that. You know what would be my out-of-pocket answer for this would be like, if they were doing a commercial where they just fully leaned into like, people want to fuck the Gecko, it's like the human version and he steps into a machine, out steps Tom Hardy.
That's crazy. That's insane. I think the Matt Smith one is interesting too, because I think that like when Matt Smith was the Doctor, everyone was like, that's an asexual being. Yeah. But then he was in the Game of Thrones show and everyone was like, am I moist for Matt Smith? I don't know what's happening. And I think that like he kind of makes sense as the Gecko because you're like, well, that's a gecko. And then you're like, but he's so I'm like blushing, he's so charming.
I can see that. I think I'm going to meet you in the middle, and I think Tom Holland, for both of us, is probably the
because also, pick. Also, if the Gecko showed up in a commercial with, like, a baddie as... Like
that's just Tom Holland and Zendaya.
This is exactly what I'm saying. Like if there was like what's this like a baddie chameleon, like a slightly larger lizard, because Zendaya is slightly taller than Tom Holland. Like I'd be like, yeah,
that's Tom Holland and Zendaya.
Also, like if the Gecko showed up in a commercial with Zendaya, I'd be like, yeah.
Better yet, God, all right, TomHolland@gmail.com. Fire your agent and hire me instead. I'm gonna get you to do a commercial where it's you and the Gecko fighting over Zendaya, like in the tennis movie. Yeah, I don't have a lot of notes on the Gecko. Basically, he's been their longest standing mascot. He was in their website in like 2002, and he's just been lovable. He's been an unproblematic king.
Yeah, he is just the most... He is, like, of all of the mascots, I think the least... Because, like, we were talking about this before, like, there are people who, like, hate Flo, mm-hmm. like, who find her annoying. And, like, same thing with, like, I think there are people who, like, hate the Mayhem commercials and, like, mm-hmm. hate something. I don't think anyone, like, hates the Gecko.
I mean, he's just inherently lovable.
He's just a little guy.
He's just a guy.
Yeah.
But who is not lovable are the Gecko cavemen. And I have pages of notes on the Gecko cavemen.
Oh my god!
So lock the fuck in.
I'm shot.
The Gecko cavemen are trademark characters of Geico. They were used in a series of TV commercials that aired beginning in 2004. The premise of the commercials with the Geico cavemen were basically saying, using Geico's website is so easy, a caveman could do it. And then several cavemen are offended by this slogan because cavemen exist in a modern society, but they live as intelligent, urbane bachelors.
Yes.
Basically, it was like a critique of PC culture, right? Of them being like, that's offensive to me as a cave person.
Oh, interesting. I never thought about it like that, but that does make sense now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like there's a commercial that's literally doing that right now. I want to say it's for Elf or something, and it's like a little pony, and the commercial is basically like, it's a little something, and then the little pony is like, that's offensive to little horses everywhere, and then the commercial is just them using different language, and then the pony's like, that's better. Classic, I guess.
Really dunking on those blue sky liberals with your woke pony stuff.
Yeah. The makeup effects for the cavemen are actually really, really good.
Yeah.
They include facial prosthetics, dental veneers, lace hair pieces, and body hair.
I mean, with the amount of money you said that they're spending on advertising every year, that they better be good, you know what I mean?
I forget the name of the guy because I didn't write it down, but the guy who did the makeup for these commercials is a quite famous makeup artist who also did the makeup for, like, Zombieland.
Hey Siri. Siri, who is the makeup artist for the Geico cavemen? Okay, Siri asked me whose contact info I'm looking for. So the first time Siri did a good job. Okay, makeup artist, Geico. Oh, my back hurts. I'm carrying this podcast on.
Hey. I'm trying my best.
They were designed and created by Tony Gardner and his special effects company, Alterian.
Okay. And then his credits, he had, like, Zombieland listed, right?
Yes. Zombieland, 127 Hours, Smokin' Aces, Hairspray, Jackass Presents Bad Grandpa, Shallow Hal!
Oh my god! Not again.
Not again. It always comes back to Shallow Hal.
The cavemen have been honored on the Madison Avenue Advertising Walk of Fame. So, Mackenna, I am expecting in your TikTok to promote this series that you will go to the Madison Avenue Advertising Walk of Fame and, I don't know, make content there.
You're gonna make me go to the East Side?
Yeah.
Do you hate me?
Time will tell.
Okay. What?
So, an ABC TV show called Cavemen was based on these commercials. On March 2nd...
Weren't we talking about if there, in the Serial Mascots episode, if there was ever a mascot that then became, like, a mainstream character? And we were like, no. So the answer is yes.
The answer is yes. Well, I'll tell you what, Mackenna. It premiered on October 2nd, 2007, and it ran until November 20th, 2007.
Oh, so it did not, people were not so steezed on that.
In fact, the opposite. It was described by the network as a unique buddy comedy that offers a clever twist on stereotypes and turns race relations on its head. And is set in San Diego, California. Basically, show did very terribly, had terrible ratings, even worse reviews. It was quietly canceled and became one of the shortest-lived ABC sitcoms of, the 2000s. The show had an extremely negative reception, and it has been regarded now as one of the worst television shows of all time. So, I'm going to tell you about the lore.
You were going to say... No. I'm not going to ask my question because I feel like you're about to answer it.
Yeah. So, in the series, cavemen were never really fully supplanted by modern humans, but rather they were integrated into Homo sapiens civilization as a separate species subgroup. Cavemen are a small but widespread minority group that have been present in every global civilization since the dawn of recorded history. So the montage in the opening credits shows that there are cavemen in Egyptian hieroglyphics, when George Washington crossed the Delaware River, standing with Abraham Lincoln, participating in the space program, basically being like, these are a subspecies of human that has been now in history along with regular humans. So effectively, cavemen form another ethnic minority in the modern world, and they face several prejudices from Homo sapiens. Sometimes the cavemen will refer to humans by derogatory terms. Some of those derogatory terms are smoothies, in reference to the lack of hair that humans have, or sapes, in reference to their species, because they're Homo sapiens. Although the cavemen self-identify as Cro-Magnon, their facial appearance and physical anatomy is reminiscent of that of the Neanderthal. Some cavemen, in the universe of the show, there are cavemen who try to pass as Homo sapiens by shaving off their body hair. Cavemen refer to those people as shavers. The central humor of the show is that the cavemen characters are not like brutish primitives, as you would expect, like an Ooga Booga type caveman to be, but they are rather fully integrated into white-collar jobs, and the central caveman characters are just, like, modern city dwellers. They also are called by racial epithets at times, so as the cavemen are Cro-Magnons, the epithet that is shouted at them at various times in the series is Magger.
Oh my god. That's awful.
The series focuses on 3 cavemen roommates who share a condo. You've got Joel, his brother Andy, and their cynical and self-absorbed roommate Nick, who was played by Nick Kroll.
Oh my god!
Yeah. The show was originally going to be set in Virginia, but then they changed it to Atlanta, and then after the horrible feedback on the pilot, they changed it to San Diego. Basically, the initial limited screening of the pilot episode was met with a terrible reception. The pilot was accused of being racist.
Yeah, because it is. Accused of it is.
Yes. Critics thought that the cavemen were being used as a metaphor for both black people and also other minorities, because it's just a lot of, like, weird racial humor.
And reinforces the, like, racist idea that people of different races are, like, less human than white people. Like, that's a huge thing in white supremacy and eugenics. Like, that is a massive, massive part, was this, like, biological basis for race. There were many, many racist people now, but especially back in the day, who, like, believed that specifically black people were a different, like, species than white people. This is insanely problematic.
Yeah, it is crazy to me. Like, because also, even, like, the 3 actors who play the cavemen in the show are white, and I haven't watched the show, but I would assume that they mainly must be casting the cavemen as white people, because I'd imagine it'd be even more problematic to have a black actor playing the cavemen. I feel like there's in fact, like, no good way to do it, because the on its face, this is a bizarre thing to do on its face. I think it is a wild approach, because when I was thinking, okay, they made a show based on the cavemen, my thinking was that it was going to be, okay, these 3 cavemen were frozen in the past, and then they got thawed out, and they're in modern day society. Oh, and it turns out that they just want to have white collar office jobs, and they aren't like regular cavemen, and it's like just a fish out of water type plot. That to me is how you could make the story not problematic.
Not creating slurs.
Not calling them maggers. I feel like I'm saying a real life slur saying that.
What is the slur that people are using for, like, AI now?
Clanker. Josh calls things clankers all the time.
I saw a skeet that was like, why are we humanizing, like, why are we personifying the, like, AI by, like, coming up with a slur for them? And I'm like, oh my god, I don't
think it's personifying them. Isn't the point of slurs to dehumanize?
Right, but in order to dehumanize something, it has to be human.
I don't know. All I know is that when the little robot comes to give us our drinks at Hot Pot and Josh calls it a clanker when it goes away, that's just hilarious.
That's different, though. That's like a Roomba. You know what I mean?
But that's the context we've been saying clanker.
Yeah, and that's fine. Have fun. That's one of the streamers who I watch. He's a VTuber who uses a little robot guy, and they call him this. That was the first time I heard it. Is they called him that, and Slade was like, "Guys, that's a slur. Don't say that about me."
So basically, after the absolutely horrible pilot, they decided to majorly retool the premise of the show. But what we got, what I described earlier, was what they retooled to. Their main thing was just changing the setting from Atlanta to San Diego, but apparently, even though it's in California for the rest of the series, there's randomly a lot of Southern characters. That was something that kept coming up when I was reading reviews of it, was like, people were like, why are there so many Southern accents in this show that takes place in San Diego?
Because they wanted to make a show about being racist against black people in the South. That's the show they wanted to make.
Yeah. So, yeah. The original, yeah.
Like that's what it is.
Yeah.
And like, frankly, is reliant on this like stereotype about Southern people that they're ignorant and racist. Mm-hmm. And so it's like doubly like the reason you make all of these characters Southern is playing on those stereotypes as well. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, what are we doing here?
There's a great paper that I read in a class that I took in grad school about like race and ethnicity stuff and racism. And basically it was a paper that looked at like racial attitudes across the US to try to look at this stereotype about Southerners being more racist. And essentially what the paper found was that like geographic location didn't really impact how racist people were. And in fact, people are just kind of racist everywhere. Yeah. So, when the pilot for this show was initially approved, it was unclear if they were going to have the actors who played the Geico cavemen in the commercials be the cavemen in the show. And ultimately, they casted new actors. So, it was Bill English, Sam Huntington, and Nick Kroll. Hilarious. Yeah, so in terms of reception, the show was absolutely annihilated by critics. The Chicago Tribune listed it as one of the 25 worst TV shows ever made. The New York Post declared the show extinct on arrival. A New York Times review says, "I laughed, but I laughed through my pain. Cavemen, set in some version of San Diego where people speak with Southern accents, doesn't have moments so much as microseconds suspended from any attempt at narrative."
Oof.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch Being Human, the show that Sam Huntington was in?
I love Being Human.
Okay, me too.
So, yeah, the show is quietly canceled, and Geico actually makes a little joke of it, where I think it's their Super Bowl commercial in 2008. They have a commercial where it's cavemen watching TV, and they turn off the TV, and basically are like, oh, that show sucks. But yeah, that's what I have on the cavemen, the Geico cavemen, and their horrible show. Like, here's the thing. I think that you can tell, like, the cavemen themselves are not, like, problematic. Like,
no.
It's creating a weird, like, lore where they are essentially a racial minority.
Yeah.
That gets really weird.
Yeah. It's
Because if you're gonna show them, like, fucking standing next to George Washington, it's like, okay, so cavemen weren't enslaved, but what about black cavemen? Because the cavemen themselves are gonna have, like, racial diversity within them.
Uh-huh. It is which obviously they're not going to show that, and I just think, again, like, the massive issue with it is the fact that is ignoring the very, very real racist thing that still exists to this day of classifying people who are not white as subhuman.
Yeah.
And conflating those two things, even in trying to do it in a metaphor or do it in jest, is extremely problematic and reinforces these, like, eugenicist. What is the brain thing called where the guys, when they would measure
not phrenology. Yeah,
it's phrenology. It's like this is a thing that is so prevalent throughout things like phrenology and eugenics, and like it is I believe, like, I believe there was always something that was like they have a higher people who are not white have a higher percentage of Neanderthal DNA. Like, this is like an incredibly, and that's not true, by the way. Like, this is an incredibly harmful thing to have done that ignores the, like, very huge significance of making that comparison.
Yeah, just terrible.
Oh.
It's a while ago now, but I had a script that was, like, not a full script, but, like, a short sketch that I had written that I thought was funny, that was, like, it was very much like millennial cavemen, but it was just, like, cave people in kind of their ooga booga speak, but talking about just like millennial modern problems. And I think it's very funny as like a 2-minute idea.
Yeah. Well, I think that's why the commercials sort of work.
Right.
But
well, because the commercials are playing on that feeling of like, but I mean, even the commercials though, because like I distinctly remember the commercial where it's the caveman and he's in the suit and he's like going down the escalator and he sees the Geico ad that's like so easy a caveman could do it, and he's like offended by it. And it's like it really is just like, you know what? It was just a conservative time. It was a fucking conservative time, and this was straight up conservative propaganda, and that's crazy.
There's a really good play. Theater Heads, it's Mackenna Theater Corner. Eleanor Burgess, who's a playwright, has this play called Sparks Fly Upward, which is a play that like leads you to believe it is about like cavemen, and then it like I think by the I saw this play in 2022, and I believe by the end you come to find that it is in fact not. It is modern time, and this is like a culture that has like reformed after some sort of like ecological collapse. So these are like post English language cavemen, not like Neanderthals.
Oh,
but
interesting.
Yes, exactly. So it's a really cool play that's about like how we evolved to this point, our relationship with nature, and like how we relate to each other. And so most of the play is written and spoken. Oh yeah, because then the whole thing is that like someone shows up who like speaks is written in this like non-English. And I remember when I went and saw this reading of it, I was like, what the fuck is happening for like the first 20 minutes? And then eventually like, it becomes clear what is happening. But like that's a really interesting thing. Like that's a really interesting way to use that device. And that's like, I think the way to use it in a serious way.
Yeah.
And not in a way that where you're trying to be funny and ignoring major racial implications of doing that. Or like doing weird like own the libs shit with it.
Well, it just seems like it was a show where a lot of like white men were like, we want to do a show that's about race, but we don't want to have to talk to people of color.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, all right, yeah, so that's what I got on the Geico cavemen. So we have the unproblematic king Geico Gecko, and then the very problematic princes, the Geico cavemen.
Okay.
So now we have Allstate. I love the development of the Mayhem character. So Allstate developed the Mayhem campaign and character in response to being ranked 4th in advertising spending behind Geico, State Farm, and Progressive. Basically, Allstate had an existing campaign called Our Stand, which had actor Dennis Haysbert, that targeted older, more traditional customers, and the company wanted to develop a campaign that would skew toward younger customers. Nina Abney, who was the executive vice president, said, "We wanted to kick Flo's ass."
It's kind of funny.
It's hilarious. So basically, Mayhem was a response by Allstate to be like, we are not spending as much in our advertising as our competitors. We are now going to throw money at, what is his fucking name?
Dean Winters.
We are now going to throw money at Dean Winters in an attempt to save us.
Everyone who has seen Law & Order SVU knows who Dean Winters is.
That's the only thing I know. Well, I knew him from the Mayhem commercials, and then I was house sitting for someone, and they had SVU on TV, and I just never turned it off the entire time I was dog sitting there. And then when I saw Dean Winters, I was like, Mayhem?
Yeah.
So
he was another thing. He's like in a few episodes of 30 Rock as one of Liz's boyfriends. He was on a TV show called Oz. He's like been in other things as well. But like, I think the main thing people know him from are Law & Order SVU and the Mayhem commercials.
The campaign was first launched in mid-June 2010. The character was featured in TV and radio spots, as well as on billboards and internet banners. By mid-2011, Allstate had won over 80 industry awards for the Mayhem campaign. It was massively successful. Initially, the character was pitched as Mr. Mayhem and was supposed to be like Mr. White from Reservoir Dogs, which is Harvey Keitel's character.
Yeah, okay.
Mayhem has been played, as we said, by actor Dean Winters since the campaign was launched. Mayhem wears a black suit, a white dress shirt, a black necktie, and his face is usually bruised, scarred, or wearing a butterfly bandage.
Yeah.
He gives big... Nobody is the movie with Saul, the actor who plays Saul Goodman. He's in, like...
Bob Odenkirk?
Yeah, Bob... Sorry.
Oh,
Bob,
is this the new movie that's coming out?
No, this is, like, the sequel to it that just came out.
Okay.
Yeah. So, it's, like... very much gives that, because Bob Odenkirk in that movie is like, I'm a normal dad, but I'm actually an assassin. And so he's got that same kind of ruffled, beat up look.
Yeah.
The formula for pretty much every Mayhem commercial is the same. To begin the commercial, Mayhem identifies the risk that he's portraying, he gives context into the situation, and he hints at an impending disaster that he will cause, which then takes place. So, for example, he might be like playing with a portable grill that's being hastily loaded into the car before being fully extinguished, which then leads to an explosion when the still burning embers ignite with an enormous bottle of lighter fluid.
Mm-hmm.
Once the disaster's result is revealed, Mayhem warns that certain cut rate policies lack coverage for the situation he has caused, advising the viewers to get their insurance policies through Allstate. Each commercial ends with Mayhem telling the viewers that by having Allstate, they will be better protected from mayhem like me. What I didn't know is that damage to his clothing and injuries to his person carry over from one commercial to the next.
Yes.
I never knew this, and then now I can't unsee it. The progression of Mayhem. It's like, it's cricket and it's always sunny.
Yes.
The cricketification of Mayhem.
Mm-hmm.
There are also commercials where Mayhem advises against going without roadside assistance. So there are advertisements where he describes what could happen in the face of a catastrophe while driving, like having to stay at a creepy roadside motel overnight because your car ran out of gas, or having to change your tire in heavy rain, or being forced to stay at awkward family gatherings because your car battery died.
Yeah.
There was a series of ads he did in 2018 where it was Mayhem's New Year's resolution to keep people and property safe. So he took on the role of various safety equipment, like being a lightning rod mounted onto the house's roof to protect it during storms.
I remember that one. That one is very silly.
Yeah, but less than a month into the new year, he broke that resolution and he returned to his habit of causing chaos and damage. There is a Hispanic version of Mayhem named La Mala Suerte, which means bad luck, for the Spanish-speaking market, and and that Mayhem is portrayed by actor Alberto Mateo. I don't really have a lot on Mayhem other than that. Dean Winters is hot. I think he's hot as Mayhem.
That's kind of, I think that they have objectively, of like all the human mascots, I think they probably have the hottest from because they've written a bad boy character.
No, that's what I was gonna say. Is he's like the naughty one. He's like,
right.
I'm the edgy guy. There's the one commercial that Mayhem's in that's out right now where it's like this dad and his son are watching TV, and for some reason the mom is at some sporting event, and it's like, I'm sitting next to your girl at the game and the kiss cam's on.
Yeah. I think that like some of the commercials have leaned into, because I feel like this happened with the Gecko before too, have like leaned into people thinking the characters are attractive.
I love that.
Yeah.
We're now going to talk about Jake from State Farm.
Justice for Jake from State Farm.
How many men have you known named Jake who had a Twitter handle or something, or a fucking Tinder bio where like they refer to themselves as Jake from State Farm? I can think of 4 off the top of my head.
The one Jake I can think of in this moment, to my knowledge, did not do anything like that, but I also knew him, and I know him now. I met him when he was 30, so I don't know.
Yeah, I knew...
I've certainly seen this on like Hinge, obviously, but...
Yeah. I knew a lot of Jakes on like Twitter back in the day, and their Twitter like name would be Jake from State Farm. And I'm like, none of you have ever had an original thought.
No, I mean, have you ever just been on like we both have. We've been on dating apps for a while. Like there's many men on dating apps who just say the same thing over and over and over again. Secret skill, knowing how to get my hoodie back.
I remember there was one that was popular back in the days, and it was just stolen from, like, an Aziz Ansari stand-up special, where it was, like, walking down hand in hand on the beach, but it's actually a mannequin, and I'm tripping on drugs, or something like that.
Yeah.
And, but it would be the same, like, it was like a paragraph, but it would be the same, like, copied and pasted paragraph, and it's like, dude, do you really think you're the only person who watched that stand-up special?
Yes, they do.
Crazy town.
Or at least I think no women have watched that stand-up special.
Well, but it's like, even if I haven't seen the stand-up special, I've seen the fucking 12 other guys who posted it.
Right.
So in 2011, State Farm premiered its State of Advertising campaign. The notable commercial here is State of Unrest, which shows a man awake at 3 a.m. on the phone with a State Farm representative. The man's wife sees him talking on the phone in a secretive manner. She's suspicious and asks who's on the phone, to which the husband says, "It's Jake from State Farm."
Jake from State Farm.
Yeah. The man's wife then takes the phone and asks, "What are you wearing?"
"I'm wearing Jake from State Farm."
To which the male agent responds in a timid way,
"Khakis."
The undaunted wife says, "She sounds hideous." And the husband replies,
"Well, she's a guy, so."
So, fun fact of
By the way, Aubrey didn't send that to me. That is just permanently etched into the curves of my brain.
It's iconic.
Yeah.
Josh's current boss is actually friends with the original Jake from State Farm. Essentially, he was a super good employee, and there was some kind of internal contest about who, like, what State Farm employee would get to be in a State Farm ad, and the guy's name is Jake Stone, and yeah, he was a good employee, he won the contest, and then they wrote the ad.
Yeah, that's a great ad.
Yeah. In 2020, actor Kevin Miles took over the role of Jake from State Farm, and has basically been in these commercials ever since. I feel bad because he is somewhat hated, and people do call him Fake Jake.
Yeah, and, like, I get it. The actor does a great job, and I actually do think the Jake from State Farm commercials are very fun, but I am like, why did they do that?
Well, and I think what is offensive a bit is that for the Super Bowl commercial where they bring him back, they just have him recreate that original ad.
Yeah.
And that just makes people feel like, oh, so you're just recasting who Jake from State Farm is.
Right. And I think it's notable that, like, Kevin Miles is a very, very handsome man.
Yes.
And so it felt a little bit like, oh, you recast, like, a extremely handsome man.
Yeah. And, you know, I think that he does a nice job. I think I read a little bit about his history, and, like, he's somebody who does not come from, like, a professional theater background, and basically, like, you know, grew up in, like, the south side of Chicago, got into a, like, I think, like, an acting school, graduated, moved to California, started doing commercial work, like, really is, like, you know, a nice story.
It's
like,
not
his fault.
Kevin Miles' fault that this whole thing was, like, a little weird. And if he was just playing, like, a Mayhem or a Flo type character from the State Farm universe, he probably wouldn't have gotten this hate. But I do think people have a strong reaction to State Farm being like, get this old guy out of the way and put this hot new guy in front of the camera. And that's not Kevin's fault.
Yeah.
It is, however, State Farm's fault.
There is a commercial where they have Drake be his stand-in.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
According to Marketing Arm, which is some, like, advertising, like, survey company, Jake is apparently better known to the general public than Hilary Swank or Katie Couric, and 80% of those people who know who Jake from State Farm is like him. So he's allegedly liked.
Yeah, he's a likable guy.
I remember for a long time, I think it was popular to be Jake from State Farm for Halloween.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it probably still is.
I mean, it's such an easy costume.
And I see flows from Progressive every year. Like,
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I have the fewest notes about Liberty Mutual, Doug, and Limu Emu.
Well, because they're the newest, right? Like, this is a rather new advertising campaign.
I also think Limu Emu might be getting phased out because the Liberty Mutual ads I've been seeing lately are, like, very annoying. It's like, it's just this this guy talking to a baby, and the baby's like, nibbity, nibbity, nibbity. And that one makes me want to go on the r/commercial hate and be like, does anyone else hate this ad? I did just realize that the reason why it's Limu Emu is
Liberty Mutual.
Liberty Mutual.
Yeah.
I was like, Limu Emu, because it rhymes.
I think that's why it's an emu.
Yeah.
It's because it rhymed with limu.
Yeah. The Limu Emu is sometimes represented as a real emu and also a CGI emu. And the Limu Emu and Doug started to appear in Liberty Mutual's advertising starting in 2019. Doug
Really?
Yes!
I would have said this started like the past 2 years. I'll be so real. I don't remember this advertising campaign at all pre-COVID.
Interesting. I feel like it's ancient. I feel like
so weird.
I feel like Doug and Limu have always been in my life.
Oh yeah, no, I don't remember them at all before the last couple years.
Yeah, Doug is portrayed by actor David Hoffman, who tries to keep Limu from acting out. Occasionally, Limu and Doug will have a potential client come to their office, and they'll type up a policy while Limu looks on approvingly. That's really all I've got on Limu, Emu, and Doug. Doug, I know, has at least hung out a little bit with Flo from Progressive, because the Flo from Progressive episode, there were interviews I read with her where she basically talks about meeting up with him to be get a financial advisor because manage your money well when you're a insurance spokesperson.
Yeah, well, I think that's interesting about that is the thing that I feel of all of obviously I know all the slogans from all of these because again these are all imprinted on our brains, but what's crazy about Liberty is what I know about Liberty Mutual is their slogan is just the word liberty 3 times.
Yeah.
Liberty, 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 I guess 4 times.
That's why the baby commercial is so annoying, because it's just a baby voice doing it, so it's liberty, 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 I can't even do it. Fuck me.
That's stupid.
So yeah, I think in terms of ranking, in terms of fuckability, Flo has got to be number 1 for me. I'm going to put Martin at number 2, Mayhem at number 3, New Jake.
You put Martin above Mayhem?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, New Jake is at number 4, for fake Jake rather. Doug is number 5, Old Jake is number 6, and the cavemen as a collective are number 7, because I think you do have to make a distinction, because I do not think that the commercial cavemen are racist characters. I do think that the TV characters almost certainly are.
Yeah.
But also the caveman characters, thinking about the old commercials, I do think it's just trying to be haha, metrosexual PC culture. They see us making an ad. That's the thing. It's yeah, if somebody saw an ad and it was so easy a woman could do it, and a woman was offended, that would make sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the commercial's poking fun at that. They're oh, these silly PC cavemen.
What about where in there would you include the Allstate Are You in Good Hands guy?
Oh, is he? I'm going to put him above New Jake.
Okay.
He's number 4.
I just think he's such a calming voice.
I know. Well, he's for the older, more sophisticated crowd.
And we all know if there's something true about you and me, we are older and more sophisticated.
Yes. Okay.
Aubrey has on clown pajamas, and I'm sitting here in a pair of boxer shorts and a sports bra surrounded by all my trinkets.
Yes. So, to sort of conclude this episode, insurance is something that I think is boring, complicated, kind of all the same shit, and kind of a scam. So, companies use mascots to try to humanize their brands, and at the end of the day, you don't need a gecko, and you don't need a caveman. You need to not be bankrupted by your insurance companies. And unfortunately, there's no government oversight to really prevent these insurance companies from fucking you in the ass repeatedly.
Well,
so you're gonna...
I would argue there is government oversight, but the oversight is please help out all of our billionaire buddies who are the heads of these insurance companies by helping them make more money and screwing over the American people in the process. I would argue the oversight is help the companies and hurt the people.
Yeah. Any last thoughts?
Over these past 7 weeks, we've spoken a lot about a lot of different commercial mascots, and I think me and Aubrey have really had some epic highs and lows about if we consider the mascot's existence harmful. We talked about a lot in the children's I keep calling it the cereal episode, but Cheetos aren't cereal. But the episode where we talked about Tony Tiger, Chester Cheetah, and Toucan Sam, we talked a lot about how those mascots have been banned because they are viewed as harmful. And I think here we can see that there is some I know the Jake from State Farm commercial bar for bar. The Geico Gecko is hot. Mayhem is hot. Apparently, Doug and Limu Emu didn't start making an impression on me until last year, but like these things are
2019, 6 years ago.
I was dead, I guess. Well, I was living in rural Ohio and didn't have a car, so why would I care about insurance commercials? I think, or is Liberty Mutual house insurance? I don't even know what Liberty Mutual is.
I think it's all home and auto.
Great, who cares? Honestly, who cares? Because I think that like similarly, like it's like all of these commercials have not impacted my purchasing habits, but they probably have for some people out there. The problem with these companies is not they make these advertisements. The problem with these companies is that they are ripping down rainforests, using child slave labor to produce their chocolate, and bankrupting Americans and putting policies based on discriminatory demographic practices that have no actual relationship to that individual person's behavior. And it can be fun to yap and laugh about how Aubrey hates Tony the Tiger and I think he's very beautiful to me. But even though Aubrey thinks it makes me a normie, we'll get through that offense another day. But like, those things can be fun and we can still revel in the enjoyment of Flo from Progressive and Dean Winters as Mayhem, while also acknowledging that like Progressive is an evil company. Allstate is an evil company. Brawny is part of an evil company. Like these are all part of large evil corporations, and I feel okay about laughing at silly little Chester Cheetah while also acknowledging that Frito-Lay is a monopoly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We have never been team brand.
No. And that's just the epic highs and lows of high school football as it comes to like living in any sort of culture, frankly, right now, but specifically any sort of Western one that like participates in big mass media. Like, you're going to be advertised to, and you can take the little joys where you can, but also still acknowledge that these are people who are evil and doing harm to the world. Not the actors, but the people behind them.
Well, yeah, I mean, there are ways to humanize and make these brands more palatable to consumers.
Yeah. If it wasn't clear, this is not a safe place for capitalists. if that hasn't been clear from any of the other episodes, we're not so steezed on unfettered corporate greed.
We're never gonna get any fucking sponsorships.
That's not true. Better Health will sponsor anybody.
I know, but that they're evil. I'm not saying that we won't get sponsorship offers. I'm saying I feel like there's like 2 companies I think we would actually take them from.
Correct, which is why one day we will have your dream of having a Patreon. It's not today, though.
What would
we don't have a Patreon.
I would take Audible.
That's Amazon.
Oh no! Fuck!
Have a question or a topic that you would like for us to discuss? Send us an email at informedattraction@gmail.com.